Welcome to BunniPhish Crafts. I'm your host Heather, known as BunniPhish on Ravelry, Instagram, YouTube, and Patreon. Today is Sunday, the 12th of January, 2020. I've been so good everywhere else saying 2020, but set up to record and I forget what year it is. Anyway, I don't remember what episode this is, but it's the first one of 2020, so that's pretty exciting. I have posted a couple things. One thing since the beginning of the year, I know I put up my very last episode of Vlogmas since the year started. I think that might be it. So yeah, let's get into recording. You will notice if you have been here before that my setup is totally different. So over there, this is the door that's usually on my side when I record, but life stuff happened over December, which was, I don't think I recorded a regular episode at all in December. I'm pretty sure it was just Vlogmas videos. So I dropped my laptop for on like the 7th or something, 5th, 6th, somewhere at the very beginning of December. And to get it fixed would be more than it would take to purchase a new laptop, and that's not in my budget right now. So I currently have my laptop right here in front of me and a monitor right here, and the camera is separate, and it is where you are right now. So I'm going to do my best to look at the camera and not get distracted or confused. It's helpful that I have a picture of my son when he was really tiny right behind the camera. So we'll just keep looking at that picture and hopefully that will work. Also, the lighting is not ideal because the window is now on the side instead of in front of me. But I'm sitting down, I'm recording, I'm trying not to worry about all of that stuff. And hopefully this will be good enough. And it will get better, hopefully, soon. If I keep waiting for the ideal setup, I'm never going to record. Or I'll record in like 6 months or something. The other really big thing that happened over December is that my sister and her kids moved back in. So this is my daughter's dresser. There wasn't enough space for her to keep it in the bedroom. So it's now in the living room, which is fine. Just another piece of furniture. So I completely rearranged my living room. I still have some furniture that I need to get rid of out of here. So yeah, as I was saying, if I wait for everything to be perfect, it will be months because we're just in a state of transition. The big thing Ravelry-wise that happened, or group-wise, I guess, it's not necessarily Ravelry, but like podcast group-wise, is that the Finish or Frog knit along finished. And thank you guys so much. You finished more than I did. There were 36 finished things, and I did not finish that many things. I only finished, I don't remember how many I finished in November, but in December, I only finished a few things. And I do not have all of those things to show you, mostly because they were gifts, so they're already been gifted. But I did talk about them during Vlogmas. So if you're interested in seeing what I worked on in December, you're going to have to watch the Vlogmas videos. I don't have those things. I don't even know if I have pictures of those things because once I recorded for Vlogmas, I was done with them. So they're not on my Ravelry page even. I made a pair of mittens for my sister. I finished a pair of socks for my friend Josh. I'll put a link below. I finished a pair of socks for my sister, which I don't think I photographed. Yeah, so pretty much anything I did in December, you have to watch Vlogmas to see it. And I know not everybody loves Vlogmas, but I love Vlogmas. So I encourage you to go watch it if you're at all interested in vloggy things. We do celebrate Christmas, but not like super celebrate Christmas. So Vlogmas this year was less Christmassy than last year, I would say. but I still enjoyed recording and posting that up. And if you did watch, thank you so much. I appreciate that a lot. Okay, but I was talking about the finisher frog, and then I got distracted. What? Oh my goodness. What? Do you hear my assistant dying? Hi. You didn't finish any projects during December either. No projects finished by Peanut. She didn't finish anything, in case you were wondering. You're gonna help me tell them who Finisher Frog winners are? So I wrote down a little list with names and how many entries things were worth and whether it was finished or frogged or both. In one case, there was a post that had multiple things and one had been finished and one had been frogged. But of course, I didn't pull up random.org, so let me do that real quick. She needs to be made into a molly corn. Do you need to be a molly corn? You do. There you go. There you go. Just so cute. There were 36 entries of things that were either finished or frogged, and random number generator says entry number 4. So number 4 is Phoenix Fire Tracy, and she had a finish or multiple finishes in that post because she had entries 3 through 8. So number 4 is Tracy. So Tracy, get in touch with me, and you have won this beautiful skein that Cat of Cattails Yarn donated for the giveaway, and it is amazing and lovely. This is the colorway Crew of Boo, which is, yes, exclusively at her local yarn store, so Mick Needles, and the collection is Going Down the Bayou. It is the Himalayan base. It is superwash merino, 20% alpaca, 20% nylon. I'm super, super in love with this yarn and this colorway. I knit a sample sock for Cat out of this, and I am obsessed with it. I don't understand what the big deal with mohair is, because I personally find it really scratchy. But alpaca has a halo and it's super soft, and oh, sorry Tracy, I'm rubbing your yarn all over my face. My face is clean though. But yeah, look at how pretty that is. So let me know that you saw this and I will get this to you. A random, unimportant interjection, but still kind of administrative for the podcast. I think I'm going to try to record on weekends because weekends are quieter around my house than weekdays, sort of, because the girls are almost never home on weekends. My daughter is with my mom, and then my niece is with her dad. And the boys can be trusted to go away and be silent. And during the week, I really tried all this week to find a morning when I could record, but the time between getting the kids to school and then going back to the school to work, they're just full right now. I don't know if that's just because it's the first week back to school after the break, or if that's just the rhythm that my life is in right now, but I think I'm going to record on weekends. So these episodes will probably get up on Mondays or Tuesdays. And I hope that's okay. I know it's okay. I know you guys are fine with that, and life happens and schedules change and things are different. And I'm gonna really try to get back onto a weekly podcasting schedule though. I know I say that and then I do it for a while and then I fall off. Life is life. Those of you who have been with me from the beginning know that. Like, I try to be here, but life happens. And I've been recording a random side tangent. It's not my podversary or anything. I don't even remember when that is anymore. But I've been recording for almost 9 years. What? That's a super long time. So let's talk about things that I have finished that I can show you, either via pictures or video. So I'm going to start with something that I finished in December that I didn't show on Vlogmas, but I did take a video that I could insert because it was a present for a friend. I am here from the past. It is midweek. I just recorded a couple days ago, but I finished something and I need to show it to you. I finished the Sidewinder mitts. So many different things than the original pattern. I changed where the gusset goes for the wrist. In the original pattern, it's in the rib section. I had more yarn, just like a gram or two more of this garter stitch section, but I used that for the section, and then I ran out of yarn. Hi. Okay. Hi. Go. Well, I didn't run out of yarn. I won Yarn Chicken, which is pretty exciting. Once I cut these two yarns, probably about 6 inches of the stripy yarn, oh, maybe like 10 inches of the stripy yarn, and like 10 inches of the other yarn too. So yay, good job me, good yarn management. The yarns that I used are 716 knit. I do not know the colorway of either of them. I got one as a mini from the yarn truck, and the other was left over from a pair of socks I made for myself. The other notable modification I made is I ran out of this stripy yarn right 2 rounds after the black. So then I worked with just the main color yarn to finish out the pattern repeat. So instead of working back and forth for intarsia in the round, I just worked in the round for that part of the wrist, which kind of makes me want to do like a Sidewinder mitt redux pattern where you just use one yarn and you don't work it intarsia in the round. That could be a thing. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how I feel about it after I think about it a little. So then the next thing that I finished that I can show you is this gorgeous pair of socks. So these are made out of, I'll correct myself on the bottom of the screen if this is incorrect, turtle pearl yarns, and it was a matchy set. I don't remember what that's called. I don't remember the base, but it's a high twist merino nylon base, and the colorway is rock paper scissors lizard's bach, and it's palindrome stripes. I love them. I knit these. These were my Christmas Eve cast on. I was part of a swap to swap yarn, waterfall style, for Christmas Eve sock yarn, and packages came way earlier than that. And if you're interested in other things that came in the package, again, go back to Vlogmas and watch that, because I got some great packages from yarny friends. Anyway, these socks were my Christmas Eve cast on. I finished them on New Year's Eve. And then today's the 11th. I have worn them at least 5 times since then, and I have not washed them. So yes, I'm showing you my dirty socks. It happens. So they have a cable panel, not a cable, a lace panel down the front of the socks, which I'm not going to be able to show you nicely because it's upside down, but there's the lace panel, and let's flip it the other way and I'll try to show you how it looks. Oh, you can kind of see. Okay, so there's the lace panel. I made it up. I think they kind of look like bells, so Christmassy, Christmas bell things. Um, I just had an idea and went ahead and charted it. And I think it turned out really, really cool. I like these socks a lot, obviously, since I've worn them like 6 times. Um, and the lovely thing is that gross that I just smelled my dirty socks on camera? Whatever. So I've worn them like 6 times, but they don't smell like anything because I don't wear them day after day. I wear them and then I let them air out. And then I wear them and let them air out. And I haven't worn them to work or anything. I've worn them around my house in my slippers, so they're not actually dirty. As soon as they get smelly or get like sweaty or anything, they'll be washed. But it's kind of one of the best things about knitting your own stuff is that wool doesn't need to be washed the same way that cotton does. Oh, and I love these socks. I think they're super, super pretty. I'm very grateful that my swap partner sent this yarn to me. It has been on my to find list for a very long time, since the first time I saw it, because look at how gorgeous in particular this green stripe is. I love it. Super, super in love with it. The other thing that I did on these socks, so it's a 60 stitch sock on size 2.0 millimeter needles, and I did an afterthought heel, which I don't normally do. I'm not a huge fan, or haven't historically been a huge fan of the way they fit, but I just was making them incorrectly for my heel. So I have a really big, this measurement right here, this diagonal is ginormous. It's about the same size as like my upper calf, like the muscle. It's really, really big. So it can be, knitting socks to fit that is not always, I'm not always successful. So I did probably 5 rounds without decreasing. So 5 rounds straight before decreasing, and then I did a less rapid decrease than I had done previously on afterthought heels, and it turned out really, really well. So I might try doing afterthought heels for myself again in the future now that I've done that. It's been a really good month for figuring out things about how to fit my heel. So I've made a billion pairs of socks, right? I've been knitting for almost 10 years, and most of what I finish is socks. So I've made a billion pairs, and I'm just now figuring out how to fit my foot, because the reality is I don't make myself socks very often. I make a lot of gift socks, but I don't know the numbers. I'm gonna go look real quick. Let's see what Ravelry can tell me. According to Ravelry, and this number is not accurate because at the beginning of the year I was really good at recording all of my projects, and then as the year went on, less good. So 27 projects, sock projects on Ravelry, and only 2 of them were for me. So 25 pair were gift or sample knits. So yeah, I don't make myself that many pairs of socks. I do wear my socks. I wear my hand knit socks. I'm not wearing hand knit socks today, but most of what I wear are hand knit socks. I'm wearing socks that my niece got me for Christmas. They have squares on the bottom, so that's why she got them for me, so that I could be subversive. They have roses on top. Anyway, so yeah, I'm learning things about how to fit socks to my feet better. And let's talk about other things that I finished. The next thing that I finished was a pair of fingerless mitts that I no longer have. My boyfriend had a friend at work who painted him a picture for Christmas, and it's beautiful. And he was like, "Hey, do you have any like stuff laying around?" I'm like what? And he was like, "Well, I had sent his aunt a hat that I had made that was laying around that I had never worn and never used. I knit it as part of a knit along and then decided I didn't really like it. It wasn't really my style. So it just sat for a while. It's the only knitting thing that I have like that. No, not true. I do have that shawl for Patreons that is like that. But I don't generally make things that I don't have a purpose for. He was like, well, I'd like to give my friend Lydia something because she spent all this time making me a thing. And I was like, okay, but why do I have to be in charge of that? Why is it my responsibility? So I threw a little whiny tantrum, and then he paid me to make fingerless mitts for his friend, which I don't know her. I didn't have a problem sending a hat to his aunt because I know her and I like her. So for me, making her a thing was fine, but I don't know his work friend. And so he paid me to make mitts, is where I'm going with this. And the yarn is Adore Colors by a brand I don't remember, but it will be in the show notes and maybe at the bottom of the screen. And I used the pattern Magic Loop mitts, Magic Loop fingerless mitts, linked below, by Julia Swart, who is Wee Sheep. And I've made these mitts before. I made a couple pair last year, partly because the Zombie Knitpocalypse knit along started on the 1st, and she is one of the featured designers, so bonus points. And partly because I just really like the pattern, especially for gift knitting. It uses, I think it calls for an Aran weight yarn. The yarn I used was more of like a DK weight. It worked fine. I did a couple modifications to stitch counts and to row counts, but mostly followed the pattern. And they turned out really well. The recipient really liked them. Someday I will meet her, maybe. The problem with working opposite schedules is that our friends work opposite schedules too. So, like, our work friends work opposite schedules. So, getting to meet each other's work friends is not a thing that really happens. The Zombie Knitpocalypse knit along is going, I mentioned, and there's a January challenge to finish socks. So this is the only time where whips are allowed because you can do a second sock if it is if it was started after January 1st. And I do have one of those, but I'm not going to talk about that right now. I'm going to talk about that in a minute. So I finished the mitts and I had a little over half of the ball left of the yarn. I was like, well, do I think I can get Shortie Socks? I'm sure I can get Shortie Socks. It should be fine. And if not, I'll have a Shortie Sock I'll have one Shortie Sock that's solid in that color, and then the other Shortie Sock will be partial in a different. But I had enough, and I had a little bit of yarn left over. So I made myself, again, these are dirty. I didn't wash them. I just wear them around the house because they're DK weight socks. I wear them in my slippers when I'm particularly chilly. Today is not one of those days, but when it's wet out, and like yesterday was super, super rainy, so I was extra cold the whole day, even though my thermostat is set at the same no matter what. We have a programmed thermostat, so it's the same. 63 degrees in the house during the daytime feels a lot colder when it's gloomy and wet outside than right now. So so there's dog fur and heather fur all over these. Sorry. So these are my Shortie Socks. I kind of just went, I went super vanilla. I did 5 rounds of 1x1 twisted ribbing, did an Eye of Partridge heel. I used US size 4 needles for both the mitts and the socks, so the gauge is not super tight on these, but again, I'm just wearing them around my house in my slippers, and I mostly made them for the bonus points, if I'm being honest, not because I needed a pair of slipper socks, although I don't really have like specifically slipper socks, so these are nice. I leave them and they're big enough to fit over a pair of smaller socks too and still fit inside my slippers, so I leave them on my coffee table right here. That's where they live, so that when I am sitting watching my television with my children in the evenings, as we sometimes do, or if we're sitting on the couch back there reading, and my feet get cold, I can just throw these on. So I'm actually gonna put them back right now. So that was another finish. And then my second sock that I was finishing is the second in, um, right now it's called the Ridgeback Redux. I don't know, I might change the name. I haven't decided. I redesigned the Ridgeback socks to be out of one yarn. So if you wanted, if you're not familiar with Ridgeback, I will throw up a picture here of what they look like. It's my design. I designed it last year and I am obsessed with this design. I think I made like 5 pairs of them last year, 4 pairs, something like that, or in the last 2 years, and I have plans to make at least one more pair this year. It's just a really, really fun pattern. It's the original one is in Target in the round, and I just really, really like it. Um, so here is what the pattern looks like in one color. So you still have that fun texture on the back with the very defined edges, but it's just one yarn. You don't have to turn your work. It's always worked in the round in the same, like the same direction, which means that there are still purl stitches involved to get the garter ridge, but it's really, really fun. If you are interested in testing, I could use a test knitter or two before I release this pattern. And I don't even need the whole thing tested. I just need from here to here to the heel tested on one sock. So if you have time to knit the leg of a sock, it's super quick. I started the second sock on the 1st of January. I started so many things on the 1st of January, but one of them was the second sock, and it's the, what did I say, the 12th, and I finished this, I don't know, sometime earlier this week. So it took me a week to knit the second sock, but if I had been actually working on it, it would not have taken me nearly that long. So these are for my children's grandma, their dad's mom. So I'm going to block these and get them ready to gift to her. And hopefully she will like them. The yarn that I used, I picked it up at my local yarn shop. I don't remember what it is. I don't remember. I picked it up because it's this charcoal color, and I've made her a couple pairs of socks in the past, and she prefers gray because she works in a bank setting, so she wants to wear them to work, but they have to be like professional. The last thing that I finished is a little diamond painting. So my son and niece and I have worked a few nights on these diamond painting things. This one's from Dotz, the brand. We have also been working on some that are not Dotz brand that my son received from 2 of his grandmas. There's one that's going to someday, in like 5 years, be a wolf. And someday, in 5 years, one will be a dragon. And then there's really small ones that are already part of the way to becoming little animals. My dog is shamelessly begging, because I had to take a tiny pause because my boyfriend decided he needed to start making some food in the kitchen and it was too much noise. And I don't know if you could hear him, but I could hear him and it was highly distracting. So I got a sandwich because I made oven sandwiches last night, which are delicious. It's onion bread, onion rolls with butter on either side. And then you put some cheese, and then you put down a deli meat, and then you put some other type of cheese We use shredded cheese because I like that better, and then another deli meat. Then you top it off with just a little tiny bit of cheese on top to hold the bun on. And some of them have garlic salt on them and some of them don't because I like them with garlic salt, but not everybody does. And then you stick it all in the oven for 10 minutes on 350 and it's amazing, and they're good cold the next day. So anyway, I have one of those sandwiches and I ate half. And she thinks that I should share, but I'm not going to because I don't share my food with dogs, especially not when they yell at me like that. We've been working on those diamond paintings while we've been watching family movies. I think we've only done it twice since they moved in, but my niece was homesick one day and she worked on a diamond painting for a little while, so it's not my favorite craft to do, but I would do it with them because they like to do it. And whatever, it's just an hour or two every once in a while where I'm doing a craft that I like the finish. I think this is pretty cute, but the process is not my favorite. Let's talk about things that I have been working on. As I said, I cast on a bunch of things on the 1st of January because I had been holding off through December, not casting on things. I wound yarn. I started making plans. There's a video for my Make 9 ideas. There will be a video coming up for Crafty Bingo, which I'm playing along with Erin from Bling Your String, and I'm super excited for that. I made a bingo card last year, and I did use it to make decisions about what I was making for the most part, but then I never posted the finish of it, so it only kind of counts. This year I'm going to try to actually do it in the Bling Your String group. We'll see. We shall see. So one of the things that I cast on was the second Ridgeback Redux sock, and then I cast on several other socks. I didn't know, we didn't find out the challenge until I don't know, the 3rd maybe. So one of the things I cast on has been set to the side because I just want to make it at some point this year during the knit along because now I've started it, but I'm not going to finish it this month because it's not a sock. And that is a pair of leg warmers for one of Patrick's nieces. So I made them, what did I make them? Unicorn dolls 2 years ago. I cannot even, she's so cute in that unicorn blanket. I made them unicorn dolls a couple years ago, and then this past year I made them unicorn socks. And they live in Florida, so it doesn't get cold, but it does get Florida cold. So I thought maybe leg warmers would be good. Again, I haven't met them in person, so I don't actually know them, but they're about Mara's age, and Mara wears leggings all the time. And when it gets cold, leg warmers over leggings are just super cozy. So I'm going to make these leg warmers for Patrick's niece, but I likely won't pick them up again until maybe February, depending on what the challenge is. Yeah, so this is the first one. It doesn't have a lot going on. It will get finished when it gets finished, but this is sock month, so I need to make more socks. So I have 3 pairs of socks on the needles right now, and I think that I'm probably going to cast on at least one more pair and try to finish it this month. So what I have on the needles, let's go from, well, let's start here. This is what I was working on while I was chatting with you. This is my pattern. It is called, what is it called? Scrubbosaurus Socks. And what I'm using for this is mini skeins that came in the goodie bag for ZK, the 3rd one, I think. I don't remember. I didn't actually attend that one, but I had some very generous friends send me theirs. I used them in the Nightingale socks that I did last year, and I had a bunch of those minis left over. So I'm making scrappy socks. At least 3 pairs of scrappy socks with the minis, with the leftovers, because I have a lot of it. So here's the first Scraposaurus sock. So this is completely finished all the way through, and 60 stitches, US size 0 needles. As you can see, I'm working the foot on double points because when you cast on a babillion pairs of socks, you have to use all of your sock needles. It's not quite true. I have 1 pair of sock needles that I wasn't using. Kind of. I kind of was, I kind of wasn't. So for these socks, I did them toe up for the Scraposaurus socks because I wasn't sure exactly. I could do the math. There could be math involved to figure out exactly how many. Let me start again. I know how many rounds I do for the foot to the heel, and from the heel up, I could just make that up. So I could have done math to do it top down to know exactly how many of these rounds I would do, the large chunk sections, in order to have the stripes fall where I wanted them to, figure out where to put in the heel. But I decided I didn't want to do the math. I would just do the socks toe up and use black for the heels and toes, and maybe for the cuff if I wanted the sock longer when I got there. I did not want the sock longer when I got there. I liked it just at this length. And it happened to fall in a really nice spot on the green, which I knew it would because I designed the sock and I designed it to fall nicely for my foot. And for most people with feet around-ish my size, it falls pretty nicely in the middle of a color section. Something that I did, the pattern is written to do a short row heel. I think it's written to do a short row heel. I don't think I wrote it for an afterthought. I haven't done an afterthought on them, so it's got to be a short row. So I use the Fish Lips Kiss because that's a short row heel. And I did something different that I haven't done before on socks, which is right here. Also, I put the seam for where you change the color on the bottom and the back of the leg. That's how the pattern's written, so that you don't have it going up the sides. Because, I mean, it's not terrible, but it's still not pretty. Jogging stripes just aren't very pretty. And they do block out a little nicer. This sock hasn't been blocked or anything, hasn't been worn. It's been sitting in a bag. So back to this heel. As I said, this measurement is really big on my foot. But you can't see what I'm showing you. No, right here. It's really big for my foot. So I decided that I would try something. Didn't know if it would work. Just decided to go with it. I stopped my heel a little bit short, or my sock a little bit short of where I would normally put in the heel. Just a few rounds. So if I had gone where I normally would have, the heel would actually be just right below this yellow stripe, which would have been fine. But I decided I would try something a little different. So I stopped a little bit short for my heel, shorter than I normally would for a Fish Lips Kiss. And then I work my heels over 30 stitches because this is a 60 stitch sock. So on the first row of the heel color, I increased by 10 stitches. So I went from 30 stitches to 40 stitches, which is a lot. But worst case is that the sock would have been a little bit too big and I would just give it to my boyfriend instead of keeping it for myself. Whatever. He wears random color socks all the time. He wouldn't have cared. But it fits me really, really well. So I did 40 and then I went down to about a third of the stitches for the flat part of the heel, which is what's recommended. So I think I went down to 14 stitches and then worked my way back up. And then on the very last pass of the heel color, I decreased out those 10 stitches. and then worked up the leg. And this fits me really, really, really well. I like Fish Lips Kiss because it's fast um, and it doesn't interrupt color stripes and things like that, but it didn't really fit my heel super well. So I used it in other people's socks, other people who don't have that crazy high, is that the instep? I don't know. That measurement, when it's not so big on other people, short row heels work great. But historically, heel flap and gusset has been what has fit me best. But I think if I continue to do this, where I increase 10 stitches, which does make the heel take significantly longer. But if I do that, then Fish Lips Kiss is a heel that I can knit for myself and it will actually work out and fit nicely and not tug across the top of my foot. So yeah, so here's the first sock. Here is the second sock. And if you're interested in following along, I have been posting daily progress on Instagram. This is not a thing that I think will be sustainable for the entire year, but I thought for the month of January, it would be kind of fun to do a daily progress thing because I had been doing that in December with Vlogmas. There was daily progress updates, and I didn't want to vlog every day in January because that is a huge commitment, but I do like sharing my progress. So every day I've been posting. Every morning I post the progress from the day before on all of my projects. Knitting, crocheting, diamond dots, whatever it is that I worked on the day before, I post it the next morning. Hopefully at some point spinning will be in there. I have plans for spinning. I just haven't done any in a long time, but right now socks. So yeah, here's the second sock, and I don't see this not being finished next week. So that'll be a pair of socks finished next week, hopefully. Next up, Haley, Hales Knits on Instagram. She is super, super generous. And she sent me from the Cozy Knitter the 2018 or 2019 Advent and the 2018 Advent. So here's the 2018 tag. So I'm working right now with the 2018 Advent, and I was temporarily without a ball winder because I sent my old one to somebody who didn't have one because I was upgrading. So in December, all of my skeins was done by hand. So I wound this up in December, cast it on the 1st, and if you're not familiar with the Cozy Knitter, for the past 2 years for Advent, she has done these skeins of yarn that are 24 stripe skeins, and they're not particularly Christmassy. I don't actually know what her inspiration for this one was, but I think for 2019 it was just things that she had seen, like colors that she had spotted while prepping with her family for the holiday. So Haley sent me half of her yarn because she's super generous for each of those. So what I am doing is I am going to make one sock out of each colorway. I definitely could have made a pair of Shortie Socks out of each, but I thought it would be a little more fun to do mismatching socks. Same design, same pattern, but the one in one colorway, one in the other. And if Haley continues to be super generous, no pressure at all. If she continues to be super generous and gives me half of her socks, because Haley only knits Shortie Socks for herself, for her boyfriend, for other people. I mean, she has in the past knit longer socks. I have a pair of knee-high socks from her that I love, and I just wore a couple days ago. Anyway, if she continues to send it, then I will continue to make those socks into this pattern. which is called self-striping. It's a free pattern on Ravelry, and it's a really easy 2-row repeat, the second row being just knit everything. And it plays with the stripes really, really nicely. So I did 20 stripes in the pattern, and then I did 4 stripes with a stockinette back, because I find that my socks wear better when, again, I have a really tall instep, and even with a heel flap, I don't want any rubbing or chafing to happen for during the stripe section, because there are yarn overs, so I don't want to put stress on those yarn overs. So that's why I did 4 stripes without. So I have the entire repeat on the top of, or on the leg of the sock. Pretty sure I'm not going to need the entire striping pattern to get to the toe, because this is a pretty good indicator of how long the sock will be, and then the toe. So even working the toe, I don't think I'll get through all 24 stripes on the foot, but I do have a full stripe repeat on the leg. I don't know if these stripes are the same size as these stripes. I don't know. We'll see when I'm making it. I just wanted for the first one to figure out how long that 24 stripe repeat would be. And in the winter time, I wear my socks pretty long. During the summer, I wear Shortie Socks. I feel like a lot of people do that, but I wear them over my leggings. So I just wanted to have all of that showing over my leggings. And I am past the gusset. I finished the gusset yesterday. So now I will be working down the foot, and I'm teaching a class today. It's a rather big class though. I have a lot of students, but I'm hoping to I'm going to take this with me, and also the Scraposaurus sock. I'm going to take both with me, but I would really like to put a lot of progress on this today. And maybe I'll finish it by, Wednesday. I'm kind of going for that, and then I'll cast on the 2019 sock. And then I will have gorgeous mismatched striping socks. So my final sock cast on from January 1st is a pair of knee-high socks. The pattern is called Aquaphobia. I don't remember who it's by. And the yarn that I'm using is from Marigold Jen, who is no longer dyeing, and I think her shop is probably closed now, which is unfortunate, because she made beautiful yarn. And I actually wound some more of her yarn, and then I was going to cast on a pair of gloves, but then the challenge for the month was socks, so I was like, that can wait. Gloves for me, because I'm the only person I like enough to make gloves. So it's Marigold Jen in the Kaleidoscope colorway, and it is a super long skein of 100% BFL superwash. So since these are knee highs, I don't have to use, because it's a super long skein, I don't have to use any cuff or toe or heel yarn like I normally do when I make knee high socks. And I have found a recipe that works pretty well for me for knee high socks, which is starting cuff down. You could do it the opposite way from toe up. I've done it the opposite way from toe up, but I'm doing these cuff down. So the reason I'm doing these cuff down is because this yarn is super, super colorful from this direction, from this end of the ball, but toward the middle it gets super, super gray with just like hints of all of these colors. And my boyfriend picked this out because it was super colorful, so I wanted to make sure that I used the really colorful part for her sock instead of doing one sock straight through and then maybe the second sock would be half gray. So what I'm doing is I'm doing it in sections and then cutting the yarn and then switching back and forth between socks. So here's the first sock that I cast on. And working from the cuff down, I started on a US size 2, which is 2.75 millimeter. And I did, this part is super stretchy. It's all slip stitches, so it will block out to be like this. It won't be all bunched up. But right now it's kind of bunched up because it's not blocked. So this is where the calf muscle is. So I worked on a US size 2 to the bottom of the calf muscle. We have similar legs, so I tried it on myself. And now, so I did the first sock, got to that point, cut it. Cast on the second sock. I have an errant needle with yarn. Stop. I'm not feeding you. So here's the second one. And it is to the point where I would change needle size too. But I only have one size 1 circular needle and only one size 2 circular needle because I don't generally use those for knitting socks anymore. My first few pairs of socks that I ever knit were on size 2s, but my gauge has loosened considerably. So I went down from a 2 to a 1, and now I'm at a 0. Hopefully I stay at a 0 because I don't know that my yarn store carries double zeros. But anyway, so now I'm ready to reattach the yarn to this sock. So I did yarn on this sock, I went to this sock, I'm going to cut the yarn on this sock, go back to this sock, work down to maybe all the way to the heel. I might stop halfway down the leg. I think I'll probably work all the way to the heel because that's where I changed the needle size again from a US size 1 to a US size 0. And then I'll switch back and work on this sock. That's my plan, to keep the yarn from, let's see. Yeah, these are pretty similar in color. I just want to keep it similar. I don't want one sock to be super, super gray. And then my last active work in progress looks similar to something that I had last regular episode, but is not the same. So on the first, I started a blanket because I have a lot of this Bernat blanket yarn. Some of it was sent to me by Haley, some I received from Joann's because I teach at 2 different stores and both stores were clearing out their old yarn stashes from like leftovers from samples or leftovers from craft days or whatever. So I have a lot of this. And yes, I could use it for my students, but I kind of wanted a snuggly blanket. So making a snuggly blanket. And this is my progress since the 1st of January. The reason why there is such great progress on this is because Natalie from the Love in Stitches podcast, she's Knitty Natty, she is hosting a Make 30 in 30 challenge. There are no prizes. It's just motivating, to be motivational to work on a project. It started the first week of January, though not the 1st of January, and is running through the first week of February. And the idea is just to sit down for 30 days and work for 30 minutes on a project, or a project, because a project doesn't necessarily have to be a single item. So you can follow the hashtag Make30for30 on Instagram, and some people are using it to jumpstart show prep, so they are working for 30 minutes a day on show things, or I'm using it to work on this blanket because otherwise I might not make progress on this blanket. Even though I want to make all of these skeins into this blanket, and I don't want the skeins sitting around forever languishing, because some of them I've had for a long time. Even though those are all true statements, this is not my favorite thing to work on. It's fine. I don't mind working on it, but I'm just more of a sock knitter than a blanket crocheter. So I'm using this as my 30 minutes. I work on it 30 minutes a day, and then I set it aside and I don't worry about it. And, you know, in a month, I might have a blanket, and in a month, I will definitely have significant progress on a blanket. So far, this is a full skein of this brown color, a full skein, well, not a full skein. This was a partial skein of this aqua and brown. And then I have a full skein to work into this, and the ball is back there. So I'm not going to show you how much I have left, but I'm going to work the full skein here. And then what I think I'm going to do, because I have another full skein of this aqua, is I think I'm going to like bookend the blanket in this color. So I started here and worked this way, but I think I'm going to pick up, not really pick up, I'm just going to crochet into this starting edge and work the other direction through the other colors that I have, because I know that I have a skein that's like this, that's pink and brown, and then I have a skein that is pink and brown but in different textures, and then I'll bookend it with the aqua. I think it'll look nice. I'm hoping it'll look nice. We'll see. I may get through the pink and the brown and decide that I don't want to put aqua on, in which case I'll just come back to this end and put it on. Who knows? But I think when I have all 6 of those worked in, which is, I'm pretty sure, all of the blanket yarn that I had in stash, I think. I think 6 should give me a pretty good sized blanket. This is about 3. So it'll be twice this, and it's about my wingspan. So yeah, even if it only, maybe the stripes will go this way. This is about half of my wingspan, so it'll be wingspan by wingspan approximately. That should be a pretty good size. And last on my list is what I have been reading. I didn't read very much during December at all. But again, if you're interested in what I read, Vlogmas is a thing. I think I finished 1 book the entire month. And then this month, I started and finished The Cruel Prince by Holly Black, which is the first book in a trilogy. I have the second book on hold, but it's inactive. I think that the hold goes active at the end of this month, because I just know I haven't been reading that much. And then I am actively on wait for the final book in the trilogy, but I'm like person number 40 out of the wait list. So I don't know when that's getting to me, but I'm pretty excited about it. I love Holly Black. It's a trilogy about fae, which I love books about fairies. So yeah, I finished that. I read that in a week. Picked it up because it was due back at the library in 3 days, and then I opted to pay the late fee instead of returning it and putting myself back on the hold list for it. It was really, really good. I don't know why it took me so long to pick up. Just because I haven't been picking up books. I need to get back into the habit. I have also been reading for probably a month now. No reason why this is taking so long. Also, my dog is drinking water. It's highly distracting for me. Maybe you can't even hear it. I've also been reading Mia Michael's A Unicorn in a World of Donkeys, and it's basically just kind of a manifesto about being your best weirdo self, which I really, really like. But it's not a story. It's nonfiction, as you can tell by the call number. It's nonfiction. It's not a story, so it doesn't grab me. Like I'll read, 20, 30 pages in a go and then not read it for a few days. I'm pretty far through it though, so I think I just need to start reading more. I have gotten out of the habit of reading alongside my kids when it's time for them to read. I've just been doing other things while they've been reading, and I just need to start reading next to them again. I mean, I would say probably 50% of the time I've been reading next to them instead of 100% of the time. And then I feel like maybe I read this book before when I worked at the dog daycare. I know I read a few books about hygge while I was working at the dog daycare, and I kind of feel like this one looks familiar, but I'm going to read it again anyway. So this will probably be my next nonfiction book read after I finish this one. And then I am not currently reading a fiction book, but I do have a few on my shelf. So I will pick one to read to start sometime this week. Actually, you know what? That's a lie. So as far as fiction goes, I picked up the day that I returned The Cruel Prince. I had I think it's called Where the Crawdads Sing on hold. I didn't know anything about it other than a lot of people really, really liked it, and one person really, really hated it. And when there's that much of a gap between how people feel about a thing, I'm kind of intrigued. If it was just everybody really, really liked it, I probably wouldn't have read it. But then someone hated it. So I was like, oh, okay, I'll place it on hold. I placed it on hold, I don't know, sometime early last year, and it just came in. So I've been reading that. And I started it right away because I know that there are people on hold behind me. So I'm not going to be able to renew it. So I started that. It's okay. It's slice of lifey, kind of. Set in the 50s and 60s in a swamp. And I want to say it's North Carolina, but I might be thinking of something else, so don't quote me. I am enjoying it kind of so far. There's a murder mystery aspect to it. Yeah, not a book that I would pick up off the shelf because it's not the type of book that I really read, but sometimes it's nice to read books that are not the type of thing you'd normally read. I'm enjoying it so far. I don't feel like I'm wasting my time reading it. I'm still reading The Once and Future King. I am into the third book of 4 in that story. It's okay. I haven't read it in a couple weeks. I had been doing really good about reading 70 pages a week, mostly on Sundays, but I haven't picked it up. I should get back to that because I do want to finish it. It's on my like bucket list of books to read. So I need to get back to that. But anyway, that's all I had for you this week. I am going to do my very, very best to see you again in a week instead of a month. Tracy, get a hold of me for your prize. Thank you everyone so much for participating in Finisher Frog. Thank you for participating in the ornament swap that happened. And I think I said last month or in November that I would be hosting that again. So look forward to that coming up in the fall this year for the second ornament swap. I really, really had fun with that. If you are interested and able, head over to Patreon. I have a $1 level, a $5 level, and a $10 level if you would like to contribute to the podcast. That money goes towards shipping out prizes, toward my editing software, toward eventually I would like a new camera and box lights. I think box lights are going to be my next purchase because the camera being what it is fine. This is fine. The screen looks okay. I know it's looked a little grainy during this recording, but this isn't too bad. But box lights will help that because then the lighting will be steady. And part of the reason why I didn't record this week was because it was too dreary and you couldn't see anything. It was super grainy on the camera. So that's what Patreon money goes toward. I super, super appreciate all the people who are over on Patreon supporting me. There will be a prize drawing in February for that. And I think that's all I have to say. Let me know what your plans are. Let me know if you liked watching Vlogmas. Let me know if you like vloggy things or if you only watch the long regular episodes or the short regular episodes, whatever. Sometimes they're short. This week is long. Yeah, come have a conversation with me in the comments. I super, super appreciate it. I know it's not always practical because I also watch videos. on my TV, and you can't really type in on your TV. And sometimes I watch them on my phone, and it's not super conducive to typing in comments on my phone. But when you do take the time, super helpful. It helps new people find me. I really, really appreciate it. Like, subscribe. I'll see you guys next week. Bye.